Follow the Path. The Bears Grove is adult-level discussion of role-playing as a storytelling art at samchuppmedia.com.
Hello there. Welcome to another Bears Grove podcast. My name is Sam Chupp. Today on the program, I'd like to talk a little bit about sources. So, sources are very important to a game designer, to a GM. They are important because you don't, you need something to base your material off of, and so a source is going to be something that sparks imagination in you, something that makes you interested, something that engages you, something that rises up out of the everyday and gets you to thinking. And this can be almost anything, but there's some things that you hit upon as you go about your everyday life. Certainly entertainment can be a source, right? And it's not just like fantasy and science fiction movies, although you can definitely get some good energy out of those. It's also, non-fantasy and science fiction. Things that are historical or that are talking about biographies or philosophy or, the very nature of intelligence. Anything that you can take in that is going to add to the breadth and depth of your knowledge, of your experience, of your creative palette. All of those things are going to be valuable to you. Eventually. They float down into a kind of a compost pile, and they get mulched up and mixed up, and they get, turned over, and they morph into something completely new. And you may not recognize at the time that the reason that you're interested in X or Y scenario is because you saw, a PBS special on it once, or you read a book about something that was tangential, but it had this in it. And that's the source that got you going. Another source that I really enjoy is music, because music speaks to your emotions, at least as far as it does for me. Now, I realize that some of you may be musicians, and you may not be able to experience music that way anymore because you're consciously, rationally sort of picking it apart. And I get that. But for me, when I listen to certain music, I recognize that I'm getting excited. I recognize that, I'm challenging myself. I'm drawing some energy into myself. I just get that sensation of connecting to something bigger than myself. And that always leads me to some kind of inspired decision or concept about my game. let's just say it frequently does. So that's another source. Another source is people. Just meeting people, observing people, watching how they walk, watching what they do, listening to how they view the world, asking questions of them. People like to talk about themselves, so you can definitely engage somebody in a conversation and get their expert opinion. You know, there are some things that certain people can talk about that they can only really talk about. And that's fascinating. And it lets you get to know them, but it also gives you some more source. So I think you're starting to see exactly what I mean by sources, by getting a source. A lot of times people say that there's no such thing as creativity. And I don't agree with that. I do think that original ideas are the result of this great compost pile I was talking about. And they're not really original ideas, but they're just ideas in a different light, or presented a different way. And that's okay. Having the capability of talking back to that sense that, oh, this has all been done before, why bother? This is going to be so obvious to my players that what I'm doing, and so why bother? This is not going to work. Well, I'm here to tell you that that's not necessarily true, first of all. Second of all, even if they do pick up on that sense of where you're going, they can enjoy it still because they know where you're going. And they can anticipate where you're going. Let me give you an example. Let's say, you're running a game and the story is your players hear about a contest that a local gnome is having. The gnome has been making amazing potions for centuries. And these potions are sold throughout the city as a way of, they're so common now that you can find them in every shop, just about. And they're really well-loved potions, right? Well, one day, the gnome says, hey, if you find a gold coin in the top of one of my potion caps, that's going to be a special gold coin, and it will let you get into my factory, and you will have a lifetime supply of Gisbert's fantastic potions. That's the prize. You'll get a lifetime supply. And of course, he starts to get, sales of his potions go through the roof. Everybody buys extra because they want to get the dang gold coin. And of course, his competitor across the city, an orc, half-orc named Rupert, has a shop called Rupert's Rostrums, and he's constantly looking for ways to develop potions like Gisbert has. And so he's really wanting to get the formula for some of them. And one by one, for whatever reason, your party has found gold coins. These Gisbert's gold coins. And now, your players are like rolling their eyes a little bit, maybe. Maybe you are too, right now. But they recognize the story. And I'm sure you recognize the story. It's like Willy Wonka. Very much like that. It's not candy, it's potions. But it's still, it's going to be interesting to see how they feel about it, right? And inside that factory, you can have all kinds of fun. And it doesn't have to be all silly. It can be kind of life-changing in there. It can be really kind of interesting. You don't actually have to have Oompa Loompas, but you could. He's an alchemist, so he could easily create homunculi. Pink homunculi that fly around and that maybe come out and do a song every so often. But, players will get a kick out of that. Or they won't. But to me, it's kind of fun. I like it. I like it as an idea. That's the source. The source is Willy Wonka. But also just trying to put a spin on it somehow. You have potions. You have challenges in the factory once you're in there. And maybe he's trying to get rid of the factory. Maybe it's just like Willy Wonka, and he would like to get rid of this factory, give it to somebody else. Or maybe he needs a group of adventurers to go to the far ends of the earth to recover, formulae and ingredients, and to take nostrums to kings and queens and other lands, and generally help them out. So that's something to think about. Okay, it's a consideration, right? But that's the kind of thing when I say source. That's what a source is to me. And you just have to, you can try and hide it for as long as you can. But the players are going to pick up on it eventually. And at that point, they're going to say, oh, wow, man, really? But if they stop and think, they will be able to realize that, yeah, okay, I'm familiar with the idea of the story, but I don't really know this story. So it is original in its way. So that's the concept about sources. Mark Ryan once said, creativity is hiding your sources, and I don't really believe in hiding your sources. I think personally that you put your sources out there. You let everybody know, hey, look, y'all, these are my influences for this game. And, mark it down. Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. Just put it on the table. Because there's no point in trying to quote-unquote hide it and make yourself seem like some sort of cool badass that created this brand new idea No, you didn't create a brand new idea, but you are offering a unique experience. That is to say, this game with you and these players, because these players are also super important. The more I play in games, start playing games, more I realize that, you know, it's it really does a lot. The concept of who you play with, the players themselves, if they are not very good, then you're screwed. So it's important to really pay attention to that and realize that there are some games, you know, when you are in the middle of playing with somebody, sometimes you get the idea that, well, this is all I get with this group of people. I'm not going to get better. You know, I shouldn't expect Shakespeare from a group of folks who are really into, oh, I don't know, Bluey, the cartoon. And I'm not getting down on Bluey. I like Bluey. I like Bluey just fine. But there is a difference between Bluey and Shakespeare. And if you're going into a situation and you want Shakespeare, you really need to find players who can do that with you. So, that's my statement. We are over time, as always, but not too far over. I really appreciate you listening to me, and have sweet dreams when you get them. Bye.